Looking for what Rocko asked. Pressure. Tell you what I can, but I also struggle at this aspect of the game. So we'll see what there is to say. But you do run H-beam, so you get to cheat a little bit.
For my kingdom.
Quiet on the set. Showtime.
Just figuring out my hotkeys real quick. Is this? Okay. That was patient round start. Immediately aired. Right. Combo, threw away the chair, stuck without the chair in the corner, walking back to our chair, punish them for shooting shots. No hype. How are we gonna get ourselves? We are not getting ourselves into Ravenous, which is already very scary. So playing Umbi in Satiated is you could just be playing a better character or something. And if you're there's a difference between being forced to contest for stuff while you're satiated and just opting into playing neutral while satiated when you could have gotten into Ravenous instead. Which feels like you're doing much more than the latter. Walk up throw, did we back throw? Unfortunate drop again. SWAT. Another DP. Kind of getting ourselves out. Good block. You really don't need to be sawing all that much in this matchup. Because even if you think... Or are you worried about Sniper? It won't really cover you all that much from Sniper. Honestly, one of the best ways to deal with Sniper is just be patient in the air, use your double jumps. And the thing about being in the air versus Sniper is even if they eventually guess right, because it's... If you're in a place where you can beam them, they're not reacting with Sniper, they're predicting it. Otherwise, your startup is just faster. They have so little time to capitalize off of anything off of an air Sniper. Because the recovery is extended if she shoots you out of the air. And DHCs can pick it up, so it's, again, depends on how much meter they have in the bank, yada yada yada, but... Oh, sorry. Man. do not think you really need to be just doing raw saw in neutral. It'll
You're in overhead.
kind of just slows you down and forces you to be stationary. Starting, crouch heavy punch, thrust again afterwards. What is there we go. So what are we pressing? We want a DP just to get it. I see. Neutral. We're insatiated, so it's kind of gonna be meh. You bought yourself all this time. You can use this time right here. Work on getting rid of that last little bit of hunger. Do a patui and hold it, and you're fine. You're perfect. And then you're set to approach with a beam behind you, and you can be so ignorant. Ravenous is such an important part of how Umbrella works. It's unfortunate that she's... If you want to play her optimally, you're kind of forced into playing Ravenous. It's like, she can do things insatiated, but if you have the time and the space to set yourself up to be in Ravenous, there's like almost no reason to. And so instead you're opting to go in with worse frame data and get swatted out of the sky. Catching him with a DP again. Right idea to low profile the shot. Unfortunately the tears clashed. So the projectile still stayed. This is weird. And we immediately see Rav Distinct play out. Although, do we not have any combos for Rav? And is that why we're not playing? Okay. So, here, you can almost always expect them to... Oh, it's not even what you expect them to do. It's like, the options they have here are tech into the corner, neutral get up, and tech out of the corner. If you want to tech out of this so you're not punishable, even though it hit, I would always tech away. Because they're either teching into you, and I don't know if it's actually your turn, but I mean, you can start doing pressing things, you can call an assist in their face. If you tech away and they neutral get up, they give you time to then close the space you just ceded to them. Then if they tech back into the corner, you still have them controlled in the corner. Because here, as worst case scenario, you're now in the corner. I mean, they can't get their chair back here, though. So, I think... I don't know if you get a punish from arm at this range. I don't actually know when Bayo does or does not. But PBGC, the first hit, lets you get a lot of punishes. If you're closer, you get a light punish. Yada yada yada, all that sort of stuff. Just something to keep in mind. That's not safe, you didn't need to jump there. They were still recovering, it was your turn. That raw tag takes so long. Neutral, we're stuck in a corner, we're fighting our way out of the corner. We've gotten out. Punish. No conversion, unfortunately. Do we magnet? I think he could have just magneted there. Caught the Robo. Or not the Robo, the Fukua. But this is just spaghetti. Yep. I have no idea who they're playing. What's not stated? Greetings. So, doing this is, you don't need to force closing distance down this much, because here, even if they're like not actively punishing you for it, or like you're not getting counter hit for it, you are still minus here. Even like, no matter how long it takes them to react, unless they're like being an absolute potato, it's not your turn anymore. You just gave up your turn and score goals, which is very, very cursed. That's it being your turn is so important in this game. Yeah. And we chose a really slow option out of it as well. And so instead of committing to this, which you can do, and so this is something you'll see Ruby do a lot. It's like, hey, I've set myself up in just a safe space. There's nothing I need to deal with. I'm just gonna sit here and hold stand medium punch and get hype. It's just having the hype ready for your first hit is really good, and like, the situation you get yourself to instead is just rushed, you're losing your turn, and then you don't have any resources to help you even if it ends up working. Just get caught up backing. One also final thing. You can afford to do this. You can afford to do this if you're using your egregious neutral assist behind you, Beam, which you're not. Doesn't seem like you're calling all that much to actually help with your pressure. Counter hit. No confirmed and get the dash jump. Struggling to deal with tears. DP them as they run into you. We are relying a lot on armor to do a good amount of heavy lifting for us. Unfortunate drop. Once again, running in without setting up Ravenous at all. Mashing level 3. Doesn't really get us all that much. It's just a chunk of damage, and it's kind of okie. A little bit. So you've been raw tagging a good amount, and it's like they are very gimmicky bashes, so to speak. It's like a once or twice kind of deal in even a longer set. I don't even want to say do it twice in a like best of 5. If you have specific ideas, so like your mash will punish a certain couple of setups, that is very different than I'm in danger and I just need to get this out, because here, what are we? We're just raw tagging and can get blown up on reaction. There's no threat of like it accidentally crossing them up, which is another thing for you to think about. That's why like Bella's so good, because even if you do it at a bad spot, sometimes they just guess wrong and it hits them on the opposite side. It's... yeah, and then, as I said in chat, risk reward, even if it gets the hit, you kind of get out of the corner, but you don't get a combo after it. So it's really sketchy, and I noticed you raw tag to Umbi a little bit earlier as well in a very similar situation, and it's not something I want to see consistently by any means, like remotely consistently. Punish. You can heavy counter hit punish this. For even if you don't have an actual heavy counter hit combo, if you can just do whatever the final heavy in your hit confirm string is, which I'm assuming for Robo you're doing like launcher, if you just start with crouch heavy punch, you have a lot more Indizzy to work with, which if you're not using in a full combo, just lets you have more Indizzy after you reset. The first hit, I can't remember if counter hit does 1.5 or 2x damage, but you get extra damage on that hit as well, which if you're doing it with a light is like a little bit of extra damage. You're going from like 100 to around like 150 or 200, but a lot of heavies will end up dealing like close to 1,000 damage, which then goes to close to like 1.5k, and it just like drastically increases how much damage you've put on, as well as eliminates scaling as quickly. So if you have, especially for punishes that are like this, that are like for car or for SSJ, where you have a lot of time to block it, avoid it, think about what's happening, try and think about, oh, I can just start with the heavy, even if you don't have a route specifically for it. Counter hits are 1.5 damage, okay, yeah. And it's just a small thing to do that you can try and start thinking about a little bit more. And then it's extra free damage than the Z. And then the really nice thing is once you start thinking about it for the small things, once you start thinking about it for the really easier ones to punish, all of a sudden once you notice you have a counter hit, you start, like, it starts getting easier to recognize. And then especially once you have a heavy counter route, if you like start with a stray, like random heavy counter hit and a scramble, you immediately go, I know what to do now because I've practiced it in simpler situations. And it just kind of all builds on each other. Incoming, no confirm. It's cute. Up back somebody. That will just not work. Even if we were hoping to get Saw there. They would lose to Drill, because... I might trade with Drill, I'm not sure. I forget how disjointed Saw actually is. But, yeah, so, and again here, another situation where you've set up yourself to be like, you have all the time in the world. You can afford that extra second to just get yourself to be a better character. And we've gotten there eventually, but it's just a habit I really want to see when I'm watching an Umbrella player fight. Also, this is one of the most like committal options you have. You can get a puddle down, you can threaten a puddle jump. If you're wanting to threaten air-to-airs, jump medium punch is one of the stupidest buttons of the game, especially in Ravenous. You also just have really good footsies grounded spacing buttons. It's like, so if you have puddles on the ground, you can slurp and slide, and if they're not really on it, they won't jab you out of it, which means you're plus afterwards, which means you start getting to do all the umbrella shenanigans. If you get close enough, you have 2 medium punch, which is one of the longest reaching lows in the game, and it's incredibly fast on Ravenous. You start having a lot more options once you get to this character, and you really don't need to be committing to this. Yeah, that jump medium punch was a much better idea. I really like it. It didn't work out, but sometimes you're just wrong. And here, your Robo, you have 16 seconds left. I would encourage you to run away. There is an argument to be made for like being aggressive and controlling space, and if it's swapping up like how you've been consistently playing to all of a sudden just like run forward and contest space and you're hoping to catch them off guard, that's one thing. But here in general, this is a situation where you can just run away and try and keep yourself as safe as possible. You have a little bit of time left to burn, and you kind of just threw yourself into the fire, and should be a dead Robo. Not quite. No, Robo has a really good time running away versus Fuqua. It's very similar to how the Parasol matchup kind of goes, where it's like the Fuqua needs to be really patient, do a lot of dash blocking, yada yada yada. It's annoying. I mean, Robo matchups in general are usually tedium, so. Throwing the chair away very quickly. I do notice we are doing a lot of like a forward jump heavy punch with or without the chair, which on its own is not awful. Usually layering assist behind it is much better, and if you do it too consistently, even with an assist behind it, you can start getting chicken blocked, you can start getting air to air, which we've seen a little bit already, where they just call you out for doing it and they get there faster, because Parasol especially has some really good ways to just run at you and press a light button in the air and win, because that's one of the things she excels at. And so you can afford to be a little bit more patient. You can actually just slow walk, and then if you want to go in a little faster again, you could call beam behind you and try and use that to really shut down the space and allow you to approach. I mean, just hop dashing at them, not pressing a button, but just using your actual dash. All those are tools to close down space that aren't very committal. Whereas, although Jump Heavy Punch is a strong option, it's a pretty committed option, and it can be exploited. Let's put a scenario where we had when we rock tagged. That's really sketchy. It's cutting it close, but it can't work. 2 medium punch, or not 2 medium punch, 2 medium kick, silly but it's a good thing to press and scrambles, it just wins in a lot of random scenarios. If we do this, we bought ourselves time. Would want to see us go to Ravenous again, yeah. But I think I've said a good bit of my point on that. Time to get ourselves to Rev, get caught backdashing. Wrong super. Tech's back into the corner. Always be thinking about where you're teching. It's a bad habit to get into. I've been starting to notice myself doing it more again as well. But it's teching into the corner. Taking into the corner is almost always just going to be a bad option, because if you have Undizzy, you spend 120 Undizzy to just put yourself in a worse position faster. It's like, if you're staying in the corner, you might as well keep the Undizzy in neutral getup. Until you notice that they're like actively timing relatively heavy. Well, it's like, because they can just react to whether you tack or neutral getup. And so there's no reason to tack, because they'll just time your wake up. And honestly, it's so much easier for people to mess up wake up timings, because neutral getup has variable wake up timings. Getting in with that mode, but we launched them away. That's the one thing you don't want to do when you're gonna explode on them. I don't know if we wanted to head there. Holding all of this. And I got caught at the tail end trying to get out. So I know you asked for tips about pressure, but you haven't been able to set yourself up in a situation to like push advantage, which I'm trying to give you a little bit of an idea how to do, but I think the issue is more setting yourself up in a nice spot and then abusing the strength of your characters when you're in advantage, rather than pushing it once you're there. Highly, highly encourage you to watch like Scene, Swing, Ruby. They're all really good Beowulfs that will probably have pretty good examples of how to play neutral. Do we have mix? We ran ourselves away from the chair. Good safe jump. Or just an empty hop. Call him out for mashing. Chair recall. Unfortunate. Tex into the corner again. Assassinate the hit. Unfortunate. Oh, that's a punish. Yeah, push blocking Clyde. No matter what they do after Clyde, unless it's like really nicely spaced, they can monster afterwards, I think, but usually you can't suppress. It's something. Push blocking is a good habit, but sometimes push blocking too much can be detrimental. Tried to see if you could catch them with a knowledge tech, and it just kind of whiffed. Yeah, that's true. You can cover your 2 HP with just calling a beam right afterwards. Keep you safe. It honestly probably keeps it your turn, doesn't it? Using the strengths of your assists will, seems like, really help you. That honestly seems like one of the biggest pain points I'm seeing so far is the assist usage. We have Salt Grinder for combo, which, yeah, it's a Bayo tool. And then we have H-Beam and H-Chair, which I feel like could be getting more use than they are. Dead mode. Oh. Too small. Don't have any dead mode combos. It happens. Although, for as consistently as you seem to go into it, I would encourage you to look into them a little more. Yeah, so again, this jump heavy punch isn't really going to do anything for you. I have no reason to really be doing it. Bong. It's an unfortunate situation, but one you've got to get recognized, or used to recognizing, is when they cross up the crouch heavy punch armored. And again, opting to go in before fixing our resources. Thankfully, we're just there now. But And again. Mash. Yeah, so, like, looking to get hype there was not a bad idea. Not quite the best time, but want to see that a little bit more. Not entirely sure what Magnet would have done for us there. I think it just loses to basically everything besides maybe like TK Fridge. Okay. I might not get through all of these games because I think I have my mind kind of solidified on a lot of the major bits and pieces. So DP, it's your turn after, press. Fortunate drop. I'm just trying to get back in. Jump heavy punch again. So we are. Oh no. How did this start? Ran in and called the assist. Could have called it before running in and then going in. Obviously, it's hindsight is 2020, but things you should probably try to be thinking about. Game punch, I like it. But once again, not dealing with resource before going in. Unfortunate drop. We are like starving. And I don't know if we recognize it. Oh, that solves the issue. Starving once again. Get out. Nice. So we are like watching and aware of our hunger. Just don't seem to care about getting unsatiated. So, like, when you see her commit to this fireball, you can just go, that's not gonna come to me. She can't shoot another love dart while it's out. I'm gonna hit the ground and get my height. And so we kind of just keep running ourselves back into the corner. And then we use our hype to get ourselves out with the Explitzer. But we're just very afraid. Which is interesting, because you've been so readily holding your ground. With armor. Yeah. Greetings, Rocko. Oh, that's weird. What? I've never seen that before. It's not bad. Mash after the gold burst. Makes sense. Get chair, take corner, not quite. So, I'm definitely seeing a lot of Bayo sweep for like mid-range, slightly longer neutral, and it's not a bad option as a call-out, but it in and of itself is not really a safe option to be consistently committing to. Once again, heading in satiated. Landing on a DP assist with a button is brave. I see us up forward, jump heavy kick out of the corner a lot, which makes sense, but I'm surprised you don't super jump and do it a lot. It is a great way to just conserve that super jump momentum and completely skyrocket away. Get called out for doing something unsafe. Super jump is honestly a very good tool in Skullgirls. One, like, just getting used for different jump heights is very good. The other really important thing about super jump is you will turn around. Like, your normals will autocorrect in the air, which they don't after normal jump, which is honestly kind of important at times. So it's a thing to be thinking about using a little more. Yeah, super jump heavy kick is really important for Rocko. We put ourselves in. Overstuffed. So we deal a lot of damage, but neutral is going to be very sluggish. Numi has a pretty good backdash, doesn't she? Assist order is messed up. Get the chair back. Now we have no height. And jump heavy punch gets anti-aired. That's hilarious. I didn't even know Annie could deal with it like that. Yet another reason to think a little bit more about neutral interactions than just jump heavy punch. Up backing, up backing, up backing, up forward. Block the low, which I'm honestly kind of surprised about with how much you were up backing. Still get caught. Hubby's coming in, Ravenous. Try to press a button. Didn't quite work. Buy yourself some time, and then go in with a very button. Shouldn't be bad. Yep. Okay. I think there's like 2 or 3 replays left. Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna watch the final 3 because I think I already have solidified my thoughts about things you were asking for. So you were asking mostly about pressure, and I think your issue is getting yourself to an advantage state. We didn't get to see all that much of you doing things after you were already in. You were really struggling to get there, and so finding yourself an advantage is, especially with a character like Beowulf, while he can sometimes rob things with like Blitzer, that's honestly a very patient and methodical approach that will be the most consistent for you. So again, I had already mentioned kind of like watching how Ruby does things, watching how Scene or Swing do things. They will slowly choke off space and be patient. They will walk at you, they'll dash at you, and not like hop dash, but just not press a button. And they'll use their assists to prevent you from contesting once they're close enough, as well as just choke out space and like run you into a corner. And so they're not going to be like permanently committing to just up forward jump heavy punch and boxing out space. They will use their character just walking at you as a threat, especially with an assist behind them. And this is more for Beowulf specifically. It's while like the jump heavy punches will choke off space, while armor crouch heavy punch will prevent them from running at you, and while armor sweep will catch them if they're not on their toes, might catch them trying to throw a projectile. They are much more. They shouldn't be your go-to tools in neutral. So you can afford to be a lot patient with this team. You have 99 skull seconds, and once you get the touch, that character will die very quickly just because of how much damage your team just spits out. And so you can put a lot more time into thinking about neutral rather than just trying to skip neutral and then do the funny Beowulf things, because Beowulf is a character who can't skip neutral nicely. Yes, he has, again, the cheats of like, oh, they'll tell you jump heavy punch is the beginner killer, yada yada yada, but there is sufficient counterplay to it. And so it's a character where you're walking towards them, you have beam, which is a phenomenal assist to do this, so it's like once you get to mid screen, once you can start threatening jumping heavy punch being a problem, or sweep or crouch heavy punch, yada yada yada, all those sort of deals. And I'm talking about those buttons with chair on. It's annoying that you have to make the distinction. Then you call chair and say, I can poke you with these options. I can use this to buy myself time, so I'm then in hop dash range to hit you with an overhead. Because a lot of what Bayo likes to do is get on you and then be sticky, but he has to force you to block that first time. And you were kind of going into some of the most committal options with the most counterplay, which then allows your opponent to just get you off them. It doesn't make you be a sticky character. And then once Beowulf is off, they have another time to set up a projectile, they have another time to like catch their breath, say, okay, I have XYZ in the spacing, and then try and catch you doing one of the 3 options you choose very consistently. Another thing is you do throw your chair a lot, which I won't say is always a bad thing. You just need to recognize what you're giving up, and especially without hype, throwing away your chair is very, very scary, because there's no easy way to get it back. You can't then like frame trap crouch heavy punch with your chair. You've got all that sort of shenanigans to deal with. For Umbi, again, you can afford to be very patient, and I will go back to the resource thing a little bit. It's also on the patience, and it works for both Beowulf and Umbi. You have time to set up your offense. You can call beam, you can set up a bubble, you can just walk slowly and menacingly at them. You like to commit to jump heavy punch to like really control screen space as Umbi. I would argue jump medium punch does that better, safer, and with less scaled confirms. Although you might need to just jump heavy punch to confirm off of it anyway. don't know how that character's air-to-air interaction work. I cannot remember off the top of my head. But you have more time than it looks like you're giving yourself credit for. And honestly, again, patience for... I'll stick to Umbi first, and then I'll move on to Robo. For Umbi, 2 medium punch, phenomenal button. You liked using 2 medium kick and scrambles, 100% a great option. Not necessarily something to be pressing at neutral, but 2 medium kick is silly. It wins. It wins versus a lot of different choices. You have Crouch Light Punch, when in Ravenous, is 4 frames and +4. You want to force them to block something and then try and get them to push block you out and find a way to slurp and slide back in without being PBGC punishable. That's kind of like the rock paper scissors pattern of her pressure. She is a very sticky character that just needs to toe the line around PBGC, and then she can stay in and be as obnoxious as possible, threatening high-low throw with just about everything you've blocked. Well, not everything you've blocked, but, you know, the deal. She can tick throw off everything, which I didn't see you do that much, but again, I didn't get to see you force them to block all that much, so it's not as big an issue. And then going to Robo, patience again. You go in a lot with Robo, which I'm never going to tell you not to do, but Robo is a zoner, and she will make people work to approach her. And so especially versus characters like Parasol or characters like Kua, I mean versus the whole cast, it's just like, make it tedious to approach her, so when you do decide to flip the switch and be violent, you'll catch them off guard. And some of the best buttons to do that are Sweep. I mean, it's mostly Sweep. Her Sweep is silly, and if spaced right, it can kind of even be plus. Other than that, we talked a little bit about Super Jump, Jump, Heavy Kick as a way to just bail out of a situation and get the hell out of dodge away from them. It covers a lot of space. You still have a double jump afterwards. You still have Jump Heavy Punch. After the double jump, you have all of your beams. You've got a lot of tools to use from that height to keep people from catching you. If they try and overcommit to catching you at that and like get in the air, you can always just dash under them, because Robo, I think, has the fastest grounded dash in the game, even before she's installed, and after install, it's ludicrous. Yeah, there's all that sort of stuff. And then it also sounded like you were going into install without understanding, like, you can kind of play her similar, you also should play her a little bit different, but once the countdown goes low, you were trying to get on them, but there was at least once or twice where you then dusted them away before the det went off, which I don't know if it was just a mistiming, but you have to be aware of that, and playing in det mode Robo is a different character with different routes, and so it's something you might want to look into learning a little bit more. Wrapping back around to not necessarily addressing your question, because I think I've gotten around to that, is one major habit I saw was it felt like you were rushing into fights without thinking about your resources. So when I bring up watching Ruby, for example, and he's the person I play the most, so he's the one like, this comes to mind immediately. Ruby controls space incredibly well, but one of the things he's really smart about doing is he's like, I'm starting a matchup, I do a safe round start, I see what's going on, if I have time, I will use that time and get myself my hype charges. It's like, if they were afraid of me running at them, I will just sit here, use that respect, and get myself some hype. And with that hype, he then allows himself to be egregious with EX Blitzer. He likes to do all that sort of stuff. He will very now consistently use it to keep his armored crouch heavy punch safe, and he'll like frame trap with the recall, yada yada yada, and as well as just getting the chair back. Like, chair recall is so important, and with as much as you throw your chair away, I would encourage you to consider having hype more, because it's a very nice get out of jail free card. Uh, and on that note, very similar situation for Umbi, where it's you can, especially after you use your reflector, you can just sit behind it and go, I'm a Patui, I'm a Bobble, I'm a get my hunger into Ravenous, and then I will go in, because Ravenous and Satiated Umbi are two very different characters. One just has, like, it's the difference is a lot, and I highly encourage you to just play it for yourself and feel kind of how Ravenous plays, because you've been going in and Satiated, and I think you will just notice a difference. I'm pretty sure that's all I wanted to say to cover these sets. Oh wait, whoops. Yeah. Don't think there was anything else off the top of my head. I'll check the chart just to make sure. Yeah, okay.